would like to procrastinate putting my laundry away, actually. Thank you so much for asking that. It's the middle of the year. There are a lot of pieces of discourse and controversy and drama and fighting going around on multiple bookish platforms. And many people have been asking me if this, that, and the third counts for my bingo board. So it felt like a good time in the middle of the year to give an official update to you guys, because I have been slacking on the bingo board updates here. I've been updating them whenever something gets crossed off on TikTok, but my most recent update was in April when I got our first bingo. So let me get you caught up. Right. I actually don't love where that's placed. One of the SJM fandom mini boxes got checked off whenever the ACOTAR TV show was officially canceled. I remember I went viral, I think at some point last year, whenever there were rumors. Like, there was an article released saying that the ACOTAR TV show was canceled, which ended up being misinformation. Like, they ended up pulling that article and like and taking it back. I remember I had a video that blew up in like the most horrible way possible, where I saw the news and started laughing. The ACOTAR fandom found that video and they were pissed long before anyone found out that it was like misinformation at the time. I had to go through a major blocking purge. I kid you not, like zero exaggeration. I blocked hundreds of people who were in my comment section being so nasty and so rude. Anyways, it got officially canceled this year, and I did laugh when it got announced officially again. Then I was able to check off cartoonish book event fail, because honestly, I'm like, this was going to be checked off no matter what, and I knew that. That's why I made the board. But the specific event that caused this to be checked off was the Fantastic Starfall Ball that happened in New Jersey. This event actually is a double whammy in being involved in the Sarah J. Maas fandom, because that was the target demographic for this event. Like, these were the people being catered towards. So they were found at the scene of the crime once again. This was an event that had mixed reviews. Some people walked away from this experience really loving it, meeting friends, making new friends, not feeling like it was a waste of money at all. And then there were others walking away from it feeling like it was a total scam. When you take into account like the Eventbrite taxes and additional costs and fees, tickets were like $480, and this does not include the additional $100 a lot of people paid for a high tea experience that was a flop. Eventgoers were promised swag bags and t-shirts and received swagless blank canvas tote bags that they had to decorate themselves and then go scavenge for items to put in the bag. And despite 1,200 tickets being sold, only like 600 t-shirts were made. And I'm not sure everyone got their t-shirts even after the fact, because it was such a high volume of attendees. A lot of the vendors were overwhelmed by these super long lines because there were so few of them, though no one really had anything negative to say about those vendors. There was an event that promised an open bar, and then when they got there, they were informed that actually drinks were $11. Some people got like locked out of the castle because they had a ball that was taking place at a local castle nearby that was apparently really fun. The food was good, the drinks were good, everyone had a good time, but the people who were able to get in had a good time. Some people were just like locked out. There was a fashion show that people had beef with because of the designer that was like showcased. The event coordinators, like the people in charge of running this entire thing, gave a really snarky non-apology to the general public. But this wasn't going to be the only cartoonish book event fail. There was one that just happened recently. What was it called? The one where like you went into a basement cafeteria with uncovered lunch tables with all of the lights on and it being incredibly sad and bleak, and the only music coming from a speaker that the security guard set up on a table because he felt bad for everyone. The Million Lives Book Festival that people nicknamed Million Lies. So if it hadn't been this, it would have been that in Baltimore. God, people who were on panels had to sit on the floor because chairs were not provided. People weren't really sticking to the schedules with things very strictly. The lady running this whole thing issued out an apology while she was still at the event, only after mass backlash. It's just so bizarre. No one's forcing you guys to make these events, especially not when they're so similar to all these other events. But I truly do think it takes someone with a gigantic unchecked ego to go through with making such a failure of an event like this time and time again, because it always boils down to poor event planning and thinking that this whole process would be so much easier than it actually is, and greed. BookNet Fest did not have this problem. BookNet Fest was so much fun. Long live BookNet Fest. I'm actually gonna revisit this little guy as my holder. His hat is removable, so this will be a whole thing. So that happened. And then really disappointing was the surprise conservative box, and that one goes to Sophie Lark, whose books I have read and enjoyed. Sophie Lark was releasing a book earlier this year. She was releasing I think there were early releases. I think this all actually traces back to advanced readers copies of a book that was releasing earlier this year, and readers were concerned with certain moments where there were characters praising Elon Musk and making really bad taste jokes negatively referring to undocumented immigrants. And Sophie Lark issued out this really horrible, non-apology. She started out fine, taking ownership for her mistakes, talking about how she was misguided in this attempt, how she was trying to make these realistically flawed characters, but went about it the wrong way. And then she talks about how when she wrote the book, it was a different time, with the different time in question being the summer of 2024. Babes, we still hated xenophobia and Elon Musk then. Long before it, actually. That was so weird. And then her Facebook page. She has this Facebook group that she is officially a part of, and she was liking comments that were defending her, saying that she never had to apologize to begin with, and also questioning why anyone needed to show respect towards undocumented immigrants when they don't respect the laws of this land, and a bunch of other bullshit from Trump supporters. That was just gross and messy. Then we got into a controversy and an event that genuinely, still to this day, makes me sick to my stomach, and did result in 3 separate boxes being crossed off. And it was that whole thing having to do with that one book, Daddy's Little Toy, which, for anyone who doesn't remember or doesn't know entirely, was a taboo dark romance that was released by an Australian author. That was an age gap romance between this barely legal teen and this older man who is friends with her dad, which is par for the course in dark romance, but then leaned really heavily into certain kinks regarding age play, where our young girl would pretend to be a baby. And then there were some really, really disturbing passages that talked about this older man knowing her as a small child and as a baby, and already expressing attraction to her long before she became legally an adult. It's a taboo, dark romance age gap between a young girl and a pedophile who has been lusting after her since she was a small child and had this connection to her since she was a baby. It's really, really disgusting. This bled over into the true crime side of things because actually that author was arrested because Australian child pornography laws include pornographic material depicting fictional children. So then this became a whole separate censorship debate. I was able to check the last plagiarism box with this author because apparently people were already familiar with her for having a previous plagiarism scandal that I'm not fully familiar with, but people were bringing it up. But the big one that this box checked off was from the people that were defending her, that it's supposed to be dark, defense from criticism, which drives me up a wall. I really hate that anytime you try to criticize anything harmful or problematic or anything within a dark romance, and people bring up that it's supposed to be dark and disturbing and you're not supposed to necessarily find joy in it, which doesn't make any sense as why you can't critique it. You also see this argument show up a lot in the splatterpunk and extreme horror community, where if you try to criticize the quality or the handling of anything, it's oh, you're being too sensitive. You knew what this was when you went into it. It's supposed to be extreme, it's supposed to be a lot, it's supposed to be disturbing down in every single way. It's the weirdest thing. And then I was able to check off the box for Sunrise on the Reaping because the book got released, and also we've been getting these non-stop updates regarding the film adaptation. On top of an already not controversial, but a book that was met with mixed reviews. A lot of Hunger Games fans consider this sequel or really prequel to be one of the least necessary or enjoyed additions to the Hunger Games universe. I still haven't read it because I haven't really been in the proper mindset for a dystopian right now, given that we're living in a dystopian. Not strong enough for that right now. It has been on my radar, obviously, and I will be reading it before I go see it in theaters eventually. And then the final Sarah J. Maas fandom box got checked off, checking off the entire box with one of the more recent Abby Jimenez book releases. The discourse surrounding that was actually pretty interesting because it had to do with laziness in publishing and with writing. This book, whose title I cannot recall, featured multiple references to Sarah J. Maas's ACOTAR books, where one of the characters in the books described another character, her love interest, as looking exactly like Rysand from ACOTAR, and emphasizing it, he looks straight out of the pages, that's literally Rysand. And people were questioning whether or not this was a lazy attempt at writing a description because it requires you already knowing who that character is, and it's not really a description. If you have no idea who Rysand is. You just got a non-description for a character. And why should you, as a reader who doesn't know who Rysand is, have to research this other character from this other book series who did get a proper description in order to know what the description of this character in this book is? And also people were just pissed that they had to see ACOTAR references in their book, which is honestly so real. I hate seeing Harry Potter references. I hate seeing ACOTAR references. It's one of the biggest icks of all time. I'm so sick of it. Bring back quirky literary characters just really liking Jane Austen or something. And honestly, I feel like at this point, Dramione has come up in conversation that I can actually check off the entire Dramione box, because there was that whole thing where publishers were releasing Dramione explanation sheets to give to booksellers to properly promote all of their published Dramione fan fictions, and that's been a recurring topic of conversation. And also I've been seeing a lot of stuff where, like, it's really unfortunate actually. So many authors and so many artists who have created work that features a blonde or platinum blonde male character who is in some sort of situation, maybe a romantic or sexually charged relationship dynamic with a pretty brunette. They're getting the Dramione accusations and how Dramione fans are flocking towards them, and they're being like really, like, they're genuinely very upset that they're being tied into this thing that they don't want anything to do with. That's so unfortunate. Can you imagine hating something and you are just like defaulted into the category of loving that thing? It's been weird. It's been getting really, really weird. So actually, let me just like check that off of my little thing right now, which is pretty exciting, because with the whole Dramione box being checked off, if I get any sort of book that has been created using AI from a Big Five publisher, which people are still debating whether or not that is Silver Elite, or if I get anything having to do with monster morality discourse, I can get another bingo. There have been no book review lawsuits, but there have been threats. There have been no drama reports coming out of the People We Meet on Vacation movie adaptation. Adam Driver still remains silent on this freaking era of fan fictions of just him. There are no new controversial books that are being described or labeled as being for fans of Zutara. We have yet to uncover any new authors that have been exposed for faking their race. Piper CJ is still below the radar. Zero mentions or any updates regarding the Verity movie adaptation. I should be able to check off the Frankenstein movie box pretty soon, because that's getting released and I'm excited to see everyone's thoughts, if it's good, if it's awful and hurts me. And we just need one more piece of overconsumption discourse taking place literally at all, anywhere. Oh, and anything regarding a published Marauders fanfiction, because given the state of publishing and Dramione, I think that's I don't think that's far off. And that is the bingo board update. So sorry to keep you guys waiting on here. 'Twas not on purpose. I just hate editing.